Suzy Walker here. Suzy Walker here from Psychologies magazine. Lovely to see you this Monday morning. How are you? I'm just back from holiday. I've had a week off, so I feel full of beans and raring to go. How are you? Today, in our Monday morning motivator, we are talking about the soundtrack of your life. Who do you want to listen to? The inner coach or your inner pessimist? Or your inner critic, as you may know it as. So Monday morning motivators are all about asking one question every week at the beginning of the week on a Monday at 11 a.m. And what we are doing is trying to focus our attention to consciously create what we want in our lives, versus if you're anything like me, sort of reacting constantly. I've just come back from holidays and I've got 9 million emails and I'm also very, very scattered, don't know which way to run. And I'm like, okay, stop. Who do I want to listen to? My inner coach or my inner pessimist? So our inner coach, let's start with the inner pessimist, actually, because the inner pessimist you probably are much more familiar with. Our inner pessimist is our inner critic. It's the part of us that is very critical. It tries to keep you in your box, not taking any risks. It will tell you how terrible you are, how you're not worth it, how you mustn't take that risk and put your head above the parapet because everyone will scream and laugh at you. It's a way, in a way, the inner pessimist actually wants to keep you safe, because it is, I think it's a part of an old wiring system. So I'm personifying it, but it's part of an old wiring system, part of the brain called the amygdala, that fires off when there's any kind of threat in the brain with freeze, flight, or fight. We all know the kind of stress hormones. So the inner pessimist is a personification of that part of your brain which says, don't do anything, stay, run away. It's the response to fear. And what I want for you this week is to explore is this another part of you called your inner coach. Your inner coach is the part of you that will champion you, will soothe you, which will tell you everything's okay, even though things may be falling apart around you, even though there's 25 million emails in my inbox this morning coming back from holiday and I feel, oh my goodness, I don't know which way to run. It's okay. It's okay. It's only a magazine. We'll get through this. All will be well. If there's anything urgent, I will get to it. And it's a way of self-coaching, it's a way of self-soothing. And it's been becoming aware, this coaching process, I think, is one of the most powerful, for me, one of the most powerful techniques I've ever learned, is first the awareness that there are two voices, or there are two modes. There's the inner coach mode and the inner pessimist mode. The inner pessimist is a personification of the amygdala in the brain that's firing out the actions of if you're scared or if there's a threat, or the scanning the horizon for threat. And your inner coach is situated in your brain, in the prefrontal lobes of your brain, which is the part of your brain which can it's a little bit more spiritually enlightened. It developed later in our where we evolved, and it is a part of the brain that if we can engage this brain, it will almost practically do is, if we talk about breathing, so you can, by doing deep breathing for 4 minutes or for 4 deep breaths even, you will short circuit the fear response. What I'm talking about here is to be consciously aware of what voice that you're listening to, your inner pessimist or your inner coach. So this exercise, I want you to tune in to the voice of your inner coach. So when you're afraid, what does your inner coach say? It's okay, everything's going to be okay, we're going to find a way, we're going to find a solution, for example. When you're sad, what does your inner coach say? Let me just throw you into bed, let me put a big duvet around you, everything's going to be all right, let's make you a nice cup of tea. It's as if you're talking to your best friend, that you are going to look after a child or a best friend. That's what the inner coach is. It's like this being with your best friend all the time, who's looking after you emotionally, who makes you laugh, who takes things lightly. It's just a wonderful energy in your life. When you're feeling exhausted, what does your inner coach say to you? The inner coach is suggesting that you perhaps go for a walk rather than powering through the 25 million emails that you have. So really, really focus very much on what voice you are listening to, inner coach or inner pessimist. Your inner pessimist, you will know very, very well. When you're afraid, what does your inner pessimist say? Run. When you're sad, pull yourself together. There's no time for tears. Stop crying. Move on out there. When you're exhausted, what does your inner pessimist say? Keep going, keep going, keep going. And what I would say to you this Monday morning is, which voice serves you better? Your inner pessimist or your inner coach? For me, I think I found that I was afraid that if I started listening to my inner coach, I wouldn't do anything. I would stay in bed all day. I don't know about you. So the inner critic or the inner pessimist feels very motivating. It's motivating me by fear and punishing, and get back to the cliff face and start climbing. Whereas the inner coach is so nurturing. It just didn't feel like a voice I recognized. And I would think, oh, well, I'm just going to take some time out then. So that was my greatest fear, that I wouldn't actually do anything if I listened to my inner coach. So I can't convince you otherwise. But what I have discovered is that when you listen to your inner coach, you get far more done, and it's sustainable. When I'm listening to my inner pessimist, often I'm sort of run ragged and I'm exhausted and I fall into bed at the end of the day, absolutely wiped out. When I listen to my inner coach, it means that I pace myself, I drink more water, I nourish myself, I nurture myself more, because it's like hanging out with your best friend and they look after you. So who would you prefer to spend time with? Your best friend or the mean girl bully up the road? No, you don't want to do that. So the great thing about this exercise is that you have a choice. You have a choice about who you spend time with in your head. But often we're not even aware that we're spending time with our inner bully. So what I would invite you to do is this week, ask yourself, when you're in a moment of stress, who are you spending time with, inner coach or inner pessimist? And start to get to know your inner coach a lot more intimately. How does she dress? What does she speak like? What does it feel like in your body when your inner coach is speaking to you? So for me, my shoulders drop. I feel calm. I don't have butterflies in my stomach. What does it feel like for you when your inner coach speaks to you? But learning this one distinction in life between inviting the inner coach into your life versus your inner critic, it can completely transform the way you live your life and the results that you get. So what I would invite you to do this week is to ask yourself at every moment, when you get in the morning, when you go to bed at night, any moments of stress, any moments of peace, ask, who am I listening to? My inner coach or my inner pessimist? Don't take my word for it, and see what happens when you start to listen to your inner coach. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Lots of love, lots of communing with your inner coach, and let me know how it goes. Bye-bye. Bye.